here, your organic living and peak performance coach. You are watching the Peak Performance Blueprint, and today's program is one that I'm really excited about. I actually expect that Sandy will be jumping on here any minute, the list queen. But today we're talking about time management, and so there wasn't, if you were wondering or curious and you missed my announcement, there wasn't a pre-video for this because it's about time management. And what was I going to say in the pre-video? But what I wanted to share with you guys today was kind of something that that fell into my hands about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. Somebody handed me a copy of the 4-Hour Work Week, and I thought it was pretty astounding. I read the book and have recommended it to everybody ever since. But one of the things that really captured my attention in there was I was always somebody who made lists, and I was always somebody who from 1983 at least, 82 on, I really took to heart when Jim Rohn said, your day doesn't begin until you start it on paper. So at least from 1982, every night I planned my day out, and it was planned on paper, and I knew what my appointments looked like, and I knew what to expect. And that was how I did my daily method of operation. But when I read the 4-Hour Work Week, there was a suggestion in there, and that's one of the things I want to talk with you guys about today. And if Sandy comes on, she might have some other ideas about how she does her lists. But one of the things they said to do, and this is my challenge for you for today's mind shift, is for 48 hours, make a note of everything you do every day. Just keep a notepad with you or a little notebook, whatever, and whatever you do from the time you get up until the time your day, your business part of your day ends. When you're ready to sit down and relax, you don't have to write down anymore. But if you're taking a telephone call, it's 9 o'clock, you write down 9 o'clock phone call. If you get off that call at 9:30, put that it was over at 9:30. If you make 10 phone calls in a row and put in that period of time, you check email. I checked email. If you go do something else, write down to something else. You come back to your email, write down that time again. The idea is that at the end of 2 days, you take a look at what the average is, or you can even do it for 24 hours if you're a little less analytical, and see how much time you spent total. How many minutes did you spend all day checking your email? So add up all the little times that you sat down in front of the computer and write that number down. How much time did you spend doing housework? How much time did you spend making phone calls? How much time did you spend reading or checking out websites? How much time did you spend talking to prospects? How much time did you spend on presentations and training? You break it all down, and you'll have a clear picture of what your day is. Now, the more days you do this in a row, the smarter it is, because then you can get a real average. So what I did was I actually tracked an entire week, and I looked at everything that I was doing for the entire week. And the idea was that we actually waste, and this is like astounding numbers to me. We actually waste 42% of our day by not working in blocks. And I was, I thought, no, that can't possibly be correct. But if you think about it, every time you start and stop checking your email, there's a couple minutes lag time in there. Every time you start and stop doing other things, it becomes a major time waster. It becomes one of those things that at the end of the day, you've been much less productive because there wasn't structure in your life. And a lot of people say, well, I can't have structure. I have 5 kids. I can't have structure. I work outside the home. The bottom line is, if that's a story you're telling yourself, understand and own that it's a story you're telling yourself. It's no different from an excuse. You don't have structure in your life, you've chosen not to have structure in your life, because you can see on the screen in front of you a person who has so much structure in her life that while we're talking, she's exercising and taking care of her kids and folding clothes some days, and some days cleaning the refrigerator. I mean, it's how you use your time. You are the master of your time. And what you choose, the level of structure that you choose to have in your life is the level of structure and results you're going to experience. And we proved that the other day when we started this conversation about making lists and accomplishing things. When I said there was a 3-foot tall laundry basket filled, pressed down, and packed with 9 loads of laundry. And it wasn't a priority for me in the simplest of terms. I simply owned that it was not a priority for me. There's too many things going on, and I have too many clean clothes to worry about. But after we had that conversation that day, I said, you know what? I hate doing laundry. Therefore, today I'm going to get that laundry done. And so I looked at my calendar and I moved the block of time that I was going to make phone calls, because my Italian made washing machine has a centrifuge and it sounds like an airport when it's running. And I knew that it would be running every 15 or 20 minutes as I was doing these loads of laundry. And I just moved the blocks of calls to today. So when I hang up today, I'm not going to show you this week's calendar because it's a bad representation, because I really pushed all of my calls into one day. And I pushed them into a Thursday, which is really insane for my business, because that's the end of the week for me. And normally I like to have a few days head start. But I decided the laundry had to get done, and I got that out of the way. And then I realized Jen made a recommendation that, the Fly Lady says if you do 1 load of laundry a day, you'll never be crazy. Well, if I have 9 loads of laundry, that means I have to do 2 loads of laundry a day with our small washing machine. But I can do those at 7 o'clock at night, or 8 o'clock at night, or at 9 o'clock at night, depending on the day of the week, and still be mindful of the noise, the noise for the environment around us and the other people here in the condo. So that's what I'm doing now. Is every night I do 2 loads. I make sure that they're done by 10 o'clock at night, so that nobody has to hear the centrifuge going off. I mean, and we all have the same washing machine because they were all bought in a huge lot. So we all know that it's a noisy machine. But the idea is, and what I want to share with you, because it doesn't look like Sandy is getting in, and I'm getting messages left and right here. It's a crazy time. I wanted to share something else with you guys too that is really astounding. I can't remember what that was. And it's just something really cool that happened, in the course of the last 24 hours. That I don't remember what it relates to time management somehow, but that'll come back to me. And if not, I'll share it tomorrow. But it was. You should have written it down, and there's proof that you should keep lists. So I'm going to do a screen share right now, though. Entire screen. And I want to show you guys what this looks like in application. So there you see on your screen. Let me enlarge it as much as I possibly can. All right, there you see on your screen a day of the week or a week for me, and how I do these blocks of time. Now, this isn't a perfect example. I just opened up my book and took a picture right before we went on because I completely forgot to take the picture. So this is probably, it's February 2016, it says. But you can see here, I have blocks of calls done at specific times throughout the day. And I have periods of time, 12 to 2 email, 2 to 4 beach. We were on holiday that week. 5:30 webinar, 3 to 5 email. Then a huge block of call this day. Smaller blocks of calls in here because we had shows on that day. Time scheduled off. I worked really hard on Wednesday so that on Thursday I could do a block of 10 calls in the morning, and then I could and do my follow-ups. I could do my email follow-ups at 12 to 1, and then 1 o'clock until 5 o'clock we went to the beach. 5 o'clock until 7 o'clock I made calls again, and then 7 o'clock was the show. And then on Friday, my Fridays I like to be done with my work week by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so, on Fridays, you'll seldom see anything in this area here unless we're going out or we're doing something. And, it was an amazingly productive week to be on holiday. So that's back to do some sharing. Um, so that's kind of the idea behind working in these smart blocks. And some of the things that Jennifer has posted on her Facebook wall from Fly Lady are other great ideas for time management. The idea of when you have a huge mess to tackle or something that needs to be organized, we'll say under your sink or in a closet. This is a technique that I've used for a couple years. We had in the condo, we had a hallway. It's a really narrow hallway and it's bad energy. So we put up a curtain, a partition at either end, and we just used the hallway for storage because nobody ever wanted to walk down that hallway and there's bad energy and everything else. Well, that hallway, all the clutter that accumulated in there became a blockage of energy. And so we said one day, you know what, 30 minutes. And we have 30 minutes to go through the stuff in the hallway, to look at it. If we haven't used it in 6 months, it gets donated. If nobody would want it, it gets thrown out. And so we went through everything in the hallway. I said, set the timer on our phone. And in 30 minutes, we went through everything, the stuff that was necessary, the things that were, archived, paperwork and stuff like that, got put in storage. The stuff that was useful that we hadn't used in 6 months got shared with somebody else in the community store. And the stuff that really nobody was going to really want got put out by the side. Then I put a thing on freecycle.com and said, hey, there's a bunch of books and a bunch of this and a bunch of that out on the corner. Come and get it. Whatever you don't pick up by 8 o'clock in the morning goes in the trash. And same thing with under your sink. Give yourself 15 minutes. Go through the stuff under your sink, whatever you're not using, whatever hasn't been used in 6 months, throw it away. And don't. There's a psychology behind that as well as an effectiveness, because when you get rid of stuff, and that's what I was going to share with you guys. When you get rid of stuff, you make room in your life for more. And I just have to tell you that we started talking a couple days ago about when you let go of toxic relationships, you open your heart and your mind to more to happen. And there is so much newness, so much incredible stuff happening in our lives that it literally woke me up at 8:30 in the morning. And anybody who actually knows me for any length of time knows I am not a morning person. I'm usually up till 2 or 3 in the morning at the very least, often until 5. I was up yesterday. I was until 2:30 in the morning. At 8:30, I was awake. I felt, I felt good, and I wanted to go for a walk around the riverfront. And so I promise you guys that just as you're going through this mind shift program, just as you're identifying things in your life that you want to change, when you make that decision and you do those things, no matter how scary they might be in that moment, the change starts to happen in your life. And it doesn't matter whether you've been doing this for 6 months, or you've been doing this for 6 years, you've been doing this for 35 years. There's always room for new change to take place. And all of this happened because of a conversation that I had with Sandy actually one day that forced me to say, the course of the conversation was, well, do you think maybe some people are not wanting to be involved with you because you post some controversial stuff? And it might scare people, it might freak people out, or it might put some people off if they're stupid enough to support Trump. And I said, well, you know what? I'm not going to edit who I am. And she said, that's fine. I'm putting it out there that could be a reason. And I said, well, let's do some experiments. Let me go and look at Twitter. And on Twitter, you don't have the opportunity to edit who sees your posts. On Facebook, I have that ability. And so the people that I know are retarded don't get to see my posts on Trump. Now, some of that doesn't mean that they're all Democrats. There's some Republicans that I know, like Sandy, who has an open mind. Actually, I don't even know whether Sandy would identify as Republican. She's a conservative. I'm not going to speak for her politically, but she's a fiscal conservative and a political conservative and a social moderate. And she has an open mind, and she enjoys conversation and discussion and debate. So she sees the stuff that I post. But the people that I know that are retarded, the people that I know that are just stupid, the people that I know, are going to just get hostile. I let them see the stuff because I don't have time in my life for those kind of argumentative discussions. And but on Twitter, you can't edit that. And I said, well, let's look on Facebook. Now I'm constantly getting rid of people on Facebook, but on Facebook, there's only 697 people following me. On Twitter, which I started a Twitter account years after Facebook, I have over 3,000 people following. So obviously, the law of attraction works all the time, every time, which was what my belief was. And we are going to attract to us people who are like us. So let me ask you, if you had 35 years of experience in the industry, if you recruited a team of 358,000 people in 39 months, if you were a top producer for 28 of the last 35 years, wouldn't you want to attract people like that into your business? So of course, I'm going to continue to be me because being me is what attracts people like you to the marketplace. It's what attracts people like you into my center of influence, into my friends, into my family, my extended family. And because of that conversation with Sandy, I was able to get very crystal clear on who I was, and I was able to stand firm in that. But more importantly, I then had to look at, well, if that's not the cause, then what is the cause of being stuck? And I walked through my house, and the first thing I saw was the hallway, and I said, Craig, we got to get this blockage out of the hallway. This blockage is an energy blockage. Intuition just spoke really clearly to me in that moment. We got rid of that blockage, and then I said, and I have to completely distance myself. When I quote unquote broke up with my former business partners because of the wife, I maintained what was left, a semblance of a relationship with the husband, because we've been friends for 21 years. And I had to come to terms with the fact that that was a toxic relationship too, because anybody who will allow gross miscarriage of justice and will allow the abuse that I was put through to take place and will not stand up to their spouse is in an unhealthy relationship themselves and is in an unhealthy relationship with me. So I said, I'm done with that toxic relationship. It's done. Took a cleansing bath and ritually burned that relationship. Physically needed to. I'm the kind of person who's very visual, so that issue, that situation, and those two people had to be put into the offering bowl and burned, so that that's out of my life. And the moment that I did that, these incredible things started to happen. So I really want you guys to understand that sometimes we have to go back a couple days or a couple weeks and watch some of the old episodes. And excuse me, the biggest thing you can do, I know I keep asking you to post on the blog, post your comments. There's a reason for that. I really don't give a shit whether anybody posts on the blog, because I know who's watching, I know who's not. I know who's doing the work, and I know who's not. But when you post on the blog and you go back and look at it later, it gives you some kind of indication of where you've been, how much you've grown, and where you can course correct. So there really is a valuable purpose for using that blog and commenting there. And especially now that the new site is so amazing, the designers did, or the programmers, I was the designer, but the programmers did such a powerful job, excuse me, of putting that together for me. And then they went back in and took my design and tweaked it and made it even better, because they have such amazing artistic eyes. And so it's a beautiful site. It's a pleasure to be in there. I even like going in there and just reading the blogs, going through them again, listening to some of the videos, to let that speak to me as an observer rather than as a host. And so I really want to encourage you guys to do that. But back to today's topic, or continuing, this is all part of that topic, is that when you make your plan, make a plan for time that you're going to spend doing this work. You can watch the show, but watching the show isn't going to do the work. So if your day doesn't have time that, from 8 to 9 or 9 to 9:30 or whatever the time might be, you're going to sit and actually do the work. You're going to reflect on this and allow those changes to take place in your life, and the growth has a much harder time happening. You may still grow. You might still experience some amazing stuff in your life, because once it's in your mind, the mind starts working on it, But if you take the initiative to actually take action on these things every day, that change in your life becomes powerful. So that's it for me. I was hoping Sandy was going to get here. I don't know, something must have come up because she wanted to share her time management tools with you and her list ideas. But I'm sure we'll talk about this another day. We definitely want to start keeping this on topic and not go off topic like the other day. Jen, give us some feedback and some perspective and wisdom from your side of the tracks.
Well, I'm going to see. Oh, I'm seeing if I can't get my camera to flip around so you can see. Nope, it's not. Oh, there it is. Oh, this is her. This is my end all be all. This is lists. You guys wanted lists. This is what they look like for me. This is what I do before bed. I mean, this starts right after dinner. You're cleaning your sink, you're getting that all done, so you don't have to worry about it tomorrow. I've got to think about tomorrow's section. There's even, meditate, read. I forgot to put journal in there, and this is all still fairly new. I actually just got this in the mail about a week ago, so I'm still filling it out. But this is how I get my day done, because if I didn't have this, I would be so lost without, and it sounds stupid. I should know that, I should do the dishes. I should know that I need to do laundry. I got a weekly plan. It tells me what room on what day and what I should be doing in those days. And even my daughter, my daughter has one too. And you can tell today was bedroom day, so I came in, I vacuumed, and I did all the fun goodness there. And it's one of those things. I know it sounds so goofy to have something to tell you, hey, goof, you had a vacuum in your living room. Well, of course I do. There's Cheez-Its all over the place. Are you kidding me? But, I mean, every Saturday, this is the stuff, I don't know, maybe it was because of how I was raised. This wasn't stuff that was in my head, Nobody told me that you've got to, you've got to do the baseboards, and nobody told me you got to clean the radiator, It just never occurred to me. But if I have it scheduled and I've got this, and my poor husband, he's actually seen where I do have, oh yeah, and the pile of laundry, it does not stop. My husband has seen where I have 4,000 alarms on my phone. Something is always going off, going, hey, keep up, you got to keep up to date. Don't forget, this is art time for the T-Rex, and this is play outside time for the T-Rex, and it's 7 o'clock, you got to get him in bath because he's got the bed. And oh God, can I talk meal planning? Hello, meal planning is just the most wonderful thing, because you don't have to stand there at 5 o'clock looking at the freezer going, ah, crap, I got to feed you people again. Why do you have to eat again? It's just, this whole thing, I know you heard that. The bunny has spoken. It's just one of the singularly greatest things that's ever happened to me is Fly Lady, and also not being afraid of what anyone else thinks about me having to have this type of system in place to be able to get it done. Logically, you sit there and go, you got to do your dishes, you got to do your laundry. You don't necessarily have to make your bed, but it's a thing. But some days, if you deal with, a potty training T-Rex that missed the potty this morning, or, depression, or, your kids slept late, you slept late. This is that kind of thing that it says, chaos happens, take a breath. You don't have, you can just jump in where you are. You don't have to start at the beginning. Just start here. Start wherever you're at. And I think one of the best things she's said is, even if it's done incorrectly, it still blesses your home and it still blesses your family because you're trying. And that, she says from the start, perfectionism out the door. You don't have to be perfect. Just kick it out the door, 15 minutes a day. Just sit down for 15 minutes. And the first thing she tells you, clean your sink, because where the kitchen is the heart of the home. And if you can get that in order, the rest of the house will follow. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Very, very awesome. You know, there was so much goodness in there. I mean, I love the idea that the things that you're doing in your house are blessing your home. I can't even excuse me, begin to imagine anyone who would think poorly of somebody who uses lists unless they're just jealous. Because I salute anybody like us who happen to use lists. Maybe because we use lists, and I know we're going to hear from Sandy in a minute. I just wanted to comment on something that you said that I think is also so important, and that's that the idea behind having these lists, the idea behind taking action on the lists, isn't that we're striving to be perfect. It's that we're just making an effort to be more organized in the things that we do and the things that we accomplish in a day. And I promise anybody that's watching this who hasn't done this, there's a bunch of resources that are available. I'm going to challenge Jennifer to go ahead and put a link to Flight Lady's thing on the blog, because that looks like an amazing system. There's a couple other. I'll put a link under there for the planner system I use, that just really help me to focus my attention on not just the things I'm going to do in the day, but the mindset I'm going to have in the day. But the things that I'm going to be more mindful of saying and doing, the things I'm going to be more mindful of holding in my heart, and all of that stuff makes it to my list for the day. And so now we have the list queen with us as our special guest every day, but she's a special guest especially today, because I know that she has some systems in place and has more experience than any of us at doing this, and I've seen her life and I've witnessed the person that she is, and that is just more validation, more proof that when you have that kind of intentionality, you bring that kind of intentionality to your life, amazing things happen. I just want to say real quickly too that if you happen to have grown up Italian, like Jennifer and I did, you have the benefit of growing up. I grew up in a household where my aunt, the matriarch of the family, made the same things the same day of the week every single week. And that's a habit that I have that really, it might sound crazy to Americans, but it really saves so much time in your life. Monday is pot roast night. Tuesday is chicken. Wednesday is pasta. Friday is seafood and a frittata for people who don't eat seafood. That sort of structure in your life eliminates the standing in front of the freezer, first of all, running up your electric bill and saying, what am I going to make for tonight? I mean, I know that tonight is Thursday is chicken night, and I'm making something with chicken, tonight. And I happen, because I'm a foodie, I happen to decide what I'm going to cook with chicken on that particular day, because there's a period of time right after we hang up from this call that I go up the street to the farmer's market and I buy my produce fresh. So, I know it's chicken night. I'm going to want cilantro. I'm going to want this. I'm going to want that. That's another little tip to making your day go so much quicker. And for me, it's a clothing thing too. I know that I have a bunch of the same colored clothes. I have blue T-shirts, black T-shirts, and white T-shirts. They look good on me. I have yellow dress shirts, red dress shirts, and white dress shirts. They look good on me. And I just buy 5 or 6 or 7 of the same exact shirt, because it just eliminates time during the day, saying, well, what am I going to wear? I mean, it's either a white shirt day, a red shirt day, or a yellow shirt day, and that's it. And my pants are either black or khaki or jeans, period. And they're all identical, so it looks like I never wash my clothes. But it really cuts. That's another 10 minutes out of your day. 10 minutes that you could be spending working on personal development. Sandy, jump in with us and give us some of your wisdom from the perspective of the list-making maven.
I would love to, and I apologize for being late. I thought I had it under control, but I was a little late getting back. Jennifer, first I want to congratulate you. I want to congratulate you on many levels. Number one, I think that I came in just about the time you were sharing your weekly calendar. And I was impressed by 2 or 3 things, but one, I was very impressed because you plan ahead with your food. because that does two or three things that other people don't have. It gives you the opportunity to buy things, number one, on sale. Number two, you have the right spices available, and you know that you're going to be able to serve something healthy to your family. My daughter has special challenges in her life, but I know that's one of her biggest struggles, is how do I get home from work at 6:30 at night with an 8 and a 9-year-old, an ill husband, make dinner for those kids that's reasonably healthy, and get them something fed, especially when school starts again, and get them so they're upstairs getting ready for bed by 8:30. It is almost an impossible task. But I admire her because I don't think she's as far as advanced as you, and that she's able to do her planning in advance. But I'm going to suggest that maybe I work with her. I go there often to help her, especially with her book work. And I'm going to suggest that maybe we have set meals for each day of the week. I like that, John Michael, because if Thursday night is chicken night, hey, hooray! I'm cooking clay pot and the chicken in the clay pot tonight. I heard talking about backwards words. Donald Trump's campaign manager said misspoke this morning, and it was so funny. He said something about he was going to vote for somebody different than Trump, and it was hilarious this morning, and he was really backtracking on his words. It was a funny moment. It was on CBS this morning. I'm sure it'll make the rest of the media, but anyway, that's just a little aside. You know, sometimes you have to find humor in some of the politics that's going on around us today. But Jennifer, I just want you to know you're on the right track. You're doing things exactly the way you should be doing them, and I congratulate you for what you showed us and shared with us. As far as, John Michael, I like that you have certain colors for laundry, because that does two or three things. You put your darks in one load and your whites in another, and wow, does that help with laundry. And I've done that not consciously, but sort of consciously when I pick out my outfits that I wear every day. So that's great, because that's saving you from, well, I have this load, and this load, and we know your Italian washing machine by now is not the most functional I've ever seen. But anyway, aside from congratulating the both of you, I'll just talk about lists for just a minute. I have way too big a house for a senior woman, and I'm working on that. You know, I'm trying to move into a retirement community so I can have more fun in my life when I actually decide to retire. Hopefully within the next couple of years I'll actually retire, but I doubt it. So don't hold me on me retiring, because it probably won't happen. In my bedroom, I have a clipboard. If I wake up in the middle of the night with something on my mind, and great thoughts come to you in the middle of the night, so you need a vehicle to write it down or jot it down, or have a tape recorder there and record that, because great thoughts come to you subconsciously when you're sleeping. So I always have a clipboard in my bedroom, and I just take that piece of paper that I've written on, I take it downstairs in the morning, just like I do the other things that I take downstairs when I get ready for the day. So I have a clipboard in my room. I have a small 5x7 clipboard in my kitchen. And this is especially helpful because we live busy lives. And if you run out of your favorite seasoning, well, you darn sure better have a list, something that you can write on, so you know the next time that you need that cumin or that unusual spice, that you know when you go to the grocery store, oh, I used that. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to go to the grocery store and you're not going to remember. But if you have a grocery list separate from your other lists, I find that helpful. Now, this is me personally I'm talking about now. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't matter. But I have a grocery list in my kitchen. And I'm a kind of a fan of Brian Tracy. John Michael will recall who I'm talking about. But years ago, he put out some ways to make a list, and I kind of followed them. But, you know, I shared with you the other night, plan the night before. But he talks about creating different lists, like I just talked about with my grocery list. That's a different list. You go so far, if I recall correctly, to say you should have a monthly list. Well, I can't. I kind of have a monthly list. I have a list of things that I need to do to prepare to move, and things I want to do prior to my move. So I have that list separate. But for the most part, everything I do, I transfer from my list to a daily list. Um, my today's list includes things like taking deposits to the bank for my son's business, um, doing some phone calls that I have to make from yesterday. I had a friend call me, and her daughter's had some really bad reports from a test, so I need to touch in with her personally today. I touched in with her yesterday when I was listening to the call. Now, that's the spiritual side of me, which has nothing to do with this conversation. But when I hear someone who is in trouble, who needs an uplift, I try to touch into that person on a level inside of me that says, God bless you. God bless you in the struggle you're going through. So do I think lists are important? Absolutely. I have 4 clipboards, one in my car. We haven't even talked about that one yet. But I just have to say, one more time, Jennifer, congratulations, because I think you are starting a lifetime practice that will serve you well until you're as old as me.
Right on. Thank you so much, Sandy. And as I said, guys, I've been to her home. In fact, I'll tell you a quick story and make a bold proclamation about Sandy's home. And Sandy, you don't have to hold your breath. It's not going to be anything radical. Or maybe it is. I don't know. But years ago, I mean, we're talking, probably 17, 18 years ago. Longer than that, actually. It was when I was living down in St. Petersburg. Anyway, it's probably 18 to 20 years ago. I was just up the road from Sandy's house. Now, Sandy and I didn't know one another at that time, and I used to drive around delivering my Herbalife products to my customers. And every time I went by Sandy's house, I would say, "Wow, that would make the perfect home for me." Because it's got space in it that could be I could just picture that being my my office, and I wonder who owns that house. I would love to see that house, and for years, and then the business really exploded for me, and then instead of moving into a practical house, I moved into a $400,000 home, and the rest was history. Well, fast forward 18 to 20 years, and I was down on holiday in February or April in St. Pete, and so I was going to finally get to meet Sandy in person, and she gave me directions to her home, and I said, "Oh yeah, I know that neighborhood. I actually know that neighborhood pretty well." And as I was pulling up to Sandy's house, I was laughing, and she was outside to greet me, and when I got out of the car, I said, "Remember I told you there was a house in your neighborhood that I really loved? This is the house." So I'm going to make the bold proclamation that somehow, some way, before Sandy's, or by the time Sandy's ready to actually move into that retirement house or retirement condo, that I'm going to come up with the money and I'm going to buy her home, because we've come full circle in my life. I don't want to be in the $400,000 home anymore. I want to be, in St. Petersburg, Clearwater area. I want to be in that house. I've seen the house now, and I fell in love with it when I was there. I never said that to you, Sandy, but it just really reinforced that decision that I made 20 years ago, that someday that was going to be my house. And even if you sell it to somebody else in the meantime, I promise you I'll be buying that house off of them, because it's on paper. I wrote it down that day when you and I sat and had coffee, that I was buying that house, and that bold proclamation is now made over the airwaves, so that it can be saved for posterity, and one day we'll talk about this when I'm doing the show from your house.
Oh, you just want this nice big office. I know you.
That's really it. It's that in the garden. I want the garden. I want to be able to grow my own food and vegetables. The rest of the house, I really don't care. I didn't need to see the rest of the kitchen too. I mean, the kitchen had to be workable, because someday I'll take you guys on a tour of my kitchen. When we came into this apartment, we tore through the walls. We broke out the dining room and the kitchen into one big room, because the Italian abbondanza thing is it's part of my lifestyle, and that's the gathering place here, and that's where family comes together, and that's where business meetings everything takes place in my kitchen except the show, really. Were it not for the fact that my Wi-Fi signal, because there's lots of metal in the walls, my Wi-Fi signal is not as great in the kitchen as it is here. I would work from the kitchen. I would much sooner. I've always dreamed of having the ability to do my business the way that we always tell people, you could do this from your kitchen table. Well, then how come I always have an office? It's just because it's easier to keep my, to keep the privacy and quiet in my office. But one of these days, I'm going to just sit at the kitchen table and I'm going to have strong Wi-Fi, and we're actually working on that now, because I want to be able to get up from the show and have people see me going and pouring a cup of coffee and talking to them while I live my life, because that's so much a part of who and what we do. So thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you guys who are watching this on remote and watching the replay. I really encourage you. Like I said, Jennifer's going to post the link to the Fly Ladies planner. I'm going to post the link to the planner that I use, we've used that in the past. That was actually part of the curriculum for this group, so that once we reached this day, which is like day 65 or day 70, something like that, then everybody started to use a planner, and we started to talk about using that planner. But I can tell you guys that you won't regret if you take any one of the suggestions that Sandy made, that Jennifer made, or that I made, and you just implement that one suggestion, and then maybe a month from now go back and watch this again and pick up another suggestion. If you just make, Jim Rohn used to say, and I'll leave you with this, that all life asks of us is that we make measurable progress in a reasonable amount of time. That's why they make fourth grade chairs so small. And so I'll leave you with that as long as you're making measurable progress in a reasonable amount of time, you are making progress, and you'll achieve your goal. So stay in the moment, be grateful for what you've got, and always remember, my friends, the best is yet to come. I appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.